apart from that, with what we actually did here is, first of all, it's always better to see these people face to face. You talk to them on the phone, or you send them emails. But even from that first experience, I mean, I've sent out like 20 emails concerning this date, reminder emails, and then it wasn't until I texted one of the participants yesterday that I have a close relationship with. It wasn't until I texted him and said, hey, are you coming tomorrow? And he's like, oh, I didn't even know about it. So that, but definitely seeing them face to face, because, for example, I talked about the conference, which I've already sent out emails having to do with the conference. I already talked about it. But it wasn't until I told them in person saying, hey, we have 2 slots for you, you need to take advantage of it, that they actually seemed like they were paying attention to it. And that one in particular told me, I'm going to email you. I'm just going to find out who the other person is. I'm going, and I'll email you as soon as possible. So it's just, these people are very busy people, and they don't read their emails all the time. They're not able to get to the phone all the time, but inviting them here and having them be here, it makes them listen. That's what it does. Reminding them about the blueprint benchmarks, I think, was good, because again, you have so many hats, so many different things that you're doing, that it's easy to get away from what the real goal is and what the real position is. I think that
so specific elements of the training that you thought were maybe a strong point
on the blueprint itself,
no, throughout the day,
having some of the technology, like we had the 3D printer going, the science 3D thing, the
T-Space.
Even though the T-Space thing, breaking up what they had just spent all that time working on, I know that I don't like those things.
Okay,
but
yes.
I mean, definitely letting them know ahead
Sure.
of time, I'm going to break this up, so don't be too attached to it.
Yeah.
But I think those little things helped. I think a major thing was getting them to talk to each other, because they all have similar issues and they all have different issues, different challenges that they're going through. So this is the only opportunity that they have to talk amongst each other and to talk about things that they are having in common. Definitely talking about best practices is always good also, because it gives people ideas. And like what the guy from Mission said, Mr. Gutierrez, is we're a plane, and we're gonna our people are in a plane. We want to see what everybody else is doing, and we're gonna steal some of it. Well, I mean, you don't reinvent the wheel when the wheel's already a pretty good invention. So I think that was a plus. Networking. See. Them looking at the rubric again was a plus, reminding them of just all the things that they need to do.
Okay. So question 2, what do you think were the weaknesses of the session?
The presentation wasn't our presentation.
Okay.
So last night I was very worried that it was going to be extremely boring. I mean, thank goodness we only got through half of it, so and we were able to.
Okay.
Because the rest of it, I didn't like some of the activities that were on there, because they're not ours. I mean, that's going to happen to any PD that we just have to turn over. That doesn't belong to ours. So, I think that was a weakness.
You think that's inherent in any PD that's turned over, or just this particular case?
I think anytime you have a hand in. I mean, I think you could take a PD and make it your own if you have time, but if you're just going to turn over a PD straight, I don't think that works. I mean, you really need to make it your own. You need to be familiar with it. You need to make sure that.
Sure.
You need here were some activities that I didn't like.
Yeah.
And if I had more time, I could have supplemented them, changed them with activities that I thought would do the same thing, but that I actually liked. If I had the time, but I didn't. So in that case, if you're just going to turn something over, I don't think it works most of the time. I mean, there's going to be some times, like especially if you can sit in it once, maybe you could be able to turn it over fine. But I think you really need to make it your own if you're presenting.
So if an opportunity shows up later on to turn it over, you feel you're able to make some modifications?
Yes.
Based on what you did today?
And definitely, since I've gone through it and seen it a little bit, I can definitely make some modifications.
Okay, question 3. What major content areas do you feel were covered in the session? Whatever content was addressed.
We were just talking about STEM design,
Okay.
but in particular,
So
we
that
did.
would be Which areas is that?
Area,
So
7, sustainability,
so
advancement, sustainability, design. Oh, from all of them? Well, we taught, we touched up on
okay, so
everything.
so these would be so you
So
mentioned
it'd be
7.
mission-driven leadership. 2 is
Culture.
culture, student selection, retention, teacher selection, retention, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Then we have alliance and stakeholders, and then we have sustainability and advancement. So we touched up on all of it because we briefly talked about it all. We talked a lot about focus on science and math, although we didn't do any content with science and math. We did do some light engineering, I guess you could say, with some of the things that we talked about, but we touched up on all the 7 benchmarks, and even that's what the whole morning was about.
So many program initiatives and program design as far as STEM education.
Right.
Okay. Question 4: how do you think you might support these participants in an ongoing manner?
Well, we do support these particular
Okay.
people. I mean, we contact them. I definitely email them at least once a week. I mean, they're
Okay.
probably sick of my emails. Some of them, like I said, I had close relationships, so I'm able to just pick up my phone and text. I wish I had that relationship with all of them. Maybe eventually I will, but
So as far as a follow-up to STEM
To this
design, what do you envision that being
well,
looking like?
hopefully they'll do it through sending teachers to see more of our PD, calling us up and asking us to do certain PDs as far as what we talked about today with their teachers and with their groups. We will see them again at the next Alliance meeting.
Okay.
So we'll see them again. I'm sure we'll do follow-ups and ask on how are things going. Definitely after Christmas break, I hope to do campus visits again just to see where they're at and what support that they need. So this particular group, we'll see them again.
Sure. Okay. And the last question I have for you is, how were the participants allowed to interact with each other throughout the session? And I think you mentioned that already, a couple of examples. If you could elaborate more on that.
So we would allow them, several ways. We had a couple of activities where they had to work together as a table. And then they also were able to turn and have little conversations with each other. One thing that we had planned that we didn't do is for them to kind of mix up a little bit more. Like we had one table that was all from one campus. But, it's good both ways. Like they're able to hear other people if you mix them up, but if they're with their campus, that's also positive because they're actually making an informal action plan as to what they're going to do. So I could definitely tell that their conversations from Mercedes were things that they wanted to do, and I know that they got ideas. I could hear bits of their conversation. The other ones were all from different. It's kind of like we had the two things going on at the same time. We had the one entity that were able to talk about action plans, and then we had the rest of them that were from separate academies, but they were actually talking to each other and listening to each other about what they're doing and getting some ideas that way also. So they had some time to interact through discussion. Also having lunch together was a way to network and to discuss and to talk.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Any other final points that you'd like to add as far as maybe I didn't discuss or address in my questions? Okay, that concludes our interview. Thank you so much. And this concludes our interview.